An ordinary college student called Haruto Amakawa is one day visiting his childhood friend. He is riding on the bus when a horrible accident happens. A collision with a train destroys the bus and he loses his life. His memories of childhood flash before him and he is awakened in a dungeon in a totally different world. He is now Ryo, a young orphan boy in a fantasy land far different than modern-day Japan. Ryo has always had one goal in mind, and that is to avenge his mother's death. But now his memories are confusing and he cannot figure out if he is Ryo or Haruto. He gets captured after trying to rescue Princess Flora from kidnappers. The knights falsely accused Ryo of being one of the kidnappers' helpers and are now holding him in a prison, where he is interrogated daily and beaten badly. The knights decided that even if he was innocent, they will get a false confession from him so they don't look like they failed to save the princess. Ryo doesn't give up and holds strong. It is just in time that he is cleared of all charges and called upon to meet the king. It turns out that because he helped save Princess Flora, Ryo is granted permission to attend the Royal Academy. There, he meets a lot of different students and his teacher, called Celia. She is the only one who is kind to him, as the other students mock him for being a peasant. Ryo undergoes a training exercise in sword fighting, and his memories from his previous life help him be amazing in combat, which angers his classmates even more. Later, Celia helps him be a part of her study class. The other girls make fun of Ryo, treating him like he is not even human. Ryo tries to follow the lesson but he can't, because he doesn't know how to read or count. After class, Celia takes Ryo to her office, where he promises to teach him how to read so he can be successful in his studies. Ryo is still studying with Celia and is getting much better. During class, all the students learn about magic and Ryo seems to be showing signs of immense power. Later, during a military exercise, all the students have to use their skills in magic to survive, and the princess also joins them. During the battle, one student accidentally pushes Princess Flora off a cliff. While she is falling, Ryo comes to her rescue, activating his magical powers to save her. After the students accuse Ryo of attempting to kill the princess, Ryo is unable to prove his innocence. He says goodbye to Celia and promises to write to her. Then, he runs away from the kingdom. Exiled and alone, Ryo makes his way through the regions of the vast kingdom, sending letters to Celia as promised. While on his journey, he starts being followed by an assassin called Latifa, who has the mission to hunt and kill Ryo. She gets closer and closer to her target and eventually manages to attack Ryo. Ryo uses his magic and manages to overpower her and knock her out. Ryo is then able to see her past. She was trapped by Duke Huguenot with a magical necklace that made her submit. Then he trained her to be an assassin against her will. When she wakes up, Ryo has destroyed the necklace and now she is free. She feels connected to Ryo somehow, and he seems familiar. Through her memories, it is revealed she is Endo Suzune, a girl who was also on the bus with Haruto that also died with him. Latifa decides to follow Ryo on his journeys. While traveling through the Forest of Spirits, Ryo is suddenly attacked by monstrous beasts, who are guards of the forest. The attackers assume that Ryo had kidnapped Latifa because he looked like a human. Ryo tries to explain without violence, but they refuse to listen and keep attacking him. More and more of them attack, and the conflict ends with Ryo being hit so hard he collapses and loses consciousness. While he is knocked out, Ryo meets a spirit in his dreams, but he eventually wakes up. He is badly injured in a village, and his attackers apologize for discriminating against his human race. The villagers also reveal what powers Ryo truly has. He has an ancient spirit inside him that is extremely rare in this world, but also powerful beyond belief. For 1 year, Ryo and Latifa remain in the village, making friends while Ryo trains his magic abilities. After a year, both of them officially become honorary members of the village. Every villager and new friend Ryo had made attends the ceremony. But Ryo decides it is time to depart and make his journey to the land of his ancient ancestors. Latifa is heartbroken. She doesn't want to be away from Ryo, not even for a moment. But their goodbyes are interrupted when a swarm of wyverns come down onto the village and forest. They are fierce and cruel monsters, and it is up to Ryo to defend the village and his friends. With his newfound abilities and training, he manages to defeat the monsters and save the village. The following day, he says goodbye to Latifa and begins his new journey. For 2 months, Ryo travels through the lands, visiting different places and meeting new people. One day he arrives at the country called Yagumo. There, to his surprise, he meets his grandmother and cousin. Filled with emotions of nostalgia, he decides to remain in the village for a while. He meets new friends and companions in the village, but happiness is short-lived. Rogue bandits attack his friends, and in that moment Ryo's past trauma resurfaces. He remembers his mother and her death. Those painful memories fill him with rage and he unleashes his power, almost killing the bandits. His powers for a moment are totally out of control. In his time in the village, Ryo is also introduced to the royals of the Yagumo countryside. There he gets more knowledge about his origins. He is told the truth about his parents and their role. His mother was a royal princess and his father an elite warrior. Ryo takes this moment as an opportunity and tells his grandparents what happened to his mother and how she died. He explains that this still fuels his desire for vengeance and that he hates the man who was responsible for his mother's death. Ryo also has a duel with one of his mother's previous soldiers. Ryo wins, showing everyone his power and also proving to his grandparents that he will never stop until he avenges his mother. For the next couple of months, Ryo remains in the village with his grandmother and cousin. Everyone pretty much accepts him as an ordinary villager. One of the girls, Seo, is actually in love with Ryo. They spend a lot of months together, hunting and making clothes, protecting the village together and helping it thrive. Unfortunately, Ryo is leaving very soon, but nobody knows that, not even Seo. When the day comes, Ryo tells Seo he is leaving, which breaks her heart. She is shocked and sad, and cannot accept that Ryo is leaving, pretending that her tears are only from the dust. Nevertheless, after saying goodbye to everyone, he continues his journey. He visits the Forest of Spirits once again and is reunited with Latifa and all her friends, making him happy to be back with his old pals. The first morning back in the village starts with a shock. A strange naked girl appears in Ryo's bed. She has purple hair and seems not of this world. The mysterious woman confuses everyone, including Ryo. She introduces herself as Ryo's guardian spirit. They seem to have a contract together without Ryo knowing about it. She is a spirit and she doesn't remember her name nor the pact she made with Ryo. As she is explaining, she refers to Ryo as Haruto, the name from his past life. She also asks Ryo to give her a name, and he is flooded with memories of his love from childhood called Asia. Later, Ryo and Asia visit Lady Diaz and the rest of the village elders. There, they test what Asia can do and what her powers really are. It seems that she has mastered all the elements, and everybody is shocked by this revelation. To prove she isn't lying, Asia and Ryo engage in combat. Their power levels seem to match and they are both revealed to be extremely powerful. After the duel, Ryo goes to take a relaxing bath and Latifa joins him. They talk about their lives before, as now she remembers that she was on that same bus as Haruto. She also recalls her time in Japan and how when she was younger, she wanted Haruto to be her older brother. Ryo tells her he will soon be departing to the Bertram Kingdom. One of the villagers called Ursula gives Ryo a teleportation stone so that at any moment, if he wishes to teleport back to the village, he can. Sildra gives him a magic earring which allows him to change his hair color to whatever he wants. After finishing his goodbyes and preparing for the travel ahead, Ryo and Asia leave together to the Bertram Kingdom he once left behind. After a while, Ryo and Asia safely arrive at the Bertram Kingdom. Their goal is to meet Celia, who Ryo hasn't seen in a long time. For a long time he hasn't been able to write her any letters, so they had totally lost contact with each other. Ryo is shocked to find out that the royal family has lost its power in a war, and that Celia is now engaged. And worst of all, she is being forced into marriage and her future partner is Charles Andor, one of the students who was cruel to Ryo. Ryo makes his way through the Bertram Kingdom until he is reunited with Celia. She reveals to him that she must marry Charles for political reasons. Charles already has many wives and Celia will just be one of them, with no choice of her own. One of the wives is already planning to get rid of Celia, therefore her life will truly be in danger when she marries. Celia refuses to go with Ryo as she feels she has no choice in the matter, and is afraid of what will happen to her father if she runs away with Ryo. Ryo is conflicted as he doesn't know if he should interfere to save his friend and stop the wedding from ever happening. With the help of Asia, Ryo ultimately decides to stop the wedding and save Celia, but he must do it in a smart way so he does not jeopardize her family. The Dukes cannot figure out if anyone from Celia's family was involved. Ryo gets into the castle and defeats a massive number of soldiers. He is trying not to kill them for Celia's sake and because they are only guards trying to do their job. After Ryo crashes the wedding, Charles sends his elite guards after him. He is confident they will easily defeat Ryo. However, unfortunately for Charles, Ryo moves past the elite Soliders with ease, defeating them without a problem. When he arrives to challenge Charles face to face, he punches him and Charles falls down in shock. Trying to keep up his cover, Ryo pretends to be a crazy person to take revenge against her family. He even holds Celia at knife point to make it convincing. He then picks her up in his arms and takes her away to freedom. The former king and Celia's father is shocked at what just happened and is afraid for his daughter's safety. He had no idea what Ryo was planning. Ryo and Celia are finally reunited and they are free. Celia accepts that her happiness is more important than some duty to a corrupt family and she decides to join Ryo on his journey. They are now traveling companions. They start reconnecting and talking about all the time they have missed together. But at that moment, giant sky beams erupt all over the land. In every corner of the world, these strange rays of light are seen. Ryo decides to check it out. He finds where some of those beams have touched down, and comes across some ruthless bandits kidnapping people. This reminds him again of his mother and her cruel death, and unlike with the guards back at the castle, this time Ryo doesn't hold back and he unleashes his full power on them. None of the bandits survive. There, Ryo discovers something shocking. Not only are kids from Japan being reincarnated into this world, but living Japanese kids are also being transported here. Ryo finds 3 people from Japan and one of them is Ayase Miharu, the childhood love of Haruto, and this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.